We've got none other than the founder and chief product officer of Smallcase joining in. Anugrah Srivastava, thank you so much for taking the time. And compliments of the season, and also I hope that 2022 is a prosperous one for you, your family, and your team. Let's start with the most basic question. What are small cases? What was the origin of them, and how do they work?
Hey, hi, Alex. Thanks a lot for inviting me, and a very happy new year to you and your viewers in advance. Small case is a very easy way of taking a portfolio exposure for investing. It's all about investing in ideas. Essentially, the way we started the company was that when we were talking to a lot of our friends, we realized that when they're trying to get into the capital markets, they are generally thinking in terms of themes and ideas, right? For example, if government has announced a new relief package for banks, they want to invest in banks. They don't have an idea in terms of where to go and which banks to pick, right? And that's how generally people start investing and start coming to the stock markets. So we thought that why don't we come up and design a platform which lets people invest into ideas or themes which they can very easily understand and relate to in a very open and transparent manner. So Smallcase today represents a basket or portfolio of stocks or ETFs, which are tied together to represent a particular theme. So for example, a rising rural demand small case represents a collection of companies which are listed on a stock exchange and have high exposure to rural demand. So if, let's say, someone believes that in future the income levels in the rural areas of India will increase, because of which certain companies which have high exposure to rural areas will gain in terms of their market share, and thus the stock price will perform well, they can just come and directly invest into themes which are designed by SEBI registered entities, right? So in this way, actually, users are able to access capital markets the way they think about it, and as well as they're taking a very portfolio first approach versus of a single stock approach, right? So this is all about like what is a small case? It's a portfolio way of investing into stock markets where everything happens via your broker account directly in your demat account.
Yeah, I was going to ask the modalities of it. How does it work? You need to have a demat account, of course, um, and therefore it's not like a mutual fund where you invest in an actively managed fund. This is riding on the principle of passive investing, right, Anugrah? In that you are investing in a basket of stocks that somebody has selected in advance, and you're essentially mirroring that portfolio. Is that how it works?
So to some extent, you have correctly described it, right? So essentially, you don't need anything special in order to invest into small cases. Whatever you need in order to, let's say, buy a normal stock like an HDFC or Tata, any company from the Tata group via your broker, whatever you need for that is essentially what you need to invest into small cases, right? So for example, let's say if you have an account with Zerodha, which is one of our partner brokers, right? You can directly come to a small case website and you can log in with your Zerodha credentials. You don't need to even open a new account or create a new account. You directly put in your Zerodha username and password. You are able to log in. Then you can see all the different baskets and ideas, which is what we call as the small cases, which are listed on the platform. Pick the ones that you like, right? And then directly invest. Now, when you are investing, the money will get debited from your broking account, and the shares will automatically get credited in your demat account, right? So at no point in time any money or shares flow from any of our properties or anything like that. Just the way when you invest normally from your broker, that money gets debited from your broking account and shares comes to your demat account. It's exactly the same thing that happens when you're investing into small cases. So in terms of any new account or any new thing that a user needs to do, there's nothing. They just need to log in via their broker account, pick a small case and invest, right? Now, let's say coming to the second part of the question, which you asked, that is it more like passive investing or let's say trying to mirror a portfolio? It's actually about you identifying a particular theme and then let a professional sort of select the stocks which should be taken in that particular theme, right? So for example, let's say Alex is a SEBI registered investment advisor who has created a portfolio on our platform, and I as a user come to the platform. I get to see your portfolio I can see your historical returns. I can see what is the rationale behind creation of the portfolio, right? And if I am willing to subscribe to a portfolio, I get to see the constituents of the portfolio, right? And then I can invest in the portfolio, right? Now, once I have invested in the portfolio, at any given point in time in future, let's say Alex, who is essentially the SEBI registered advisor who is maintaining this portfolio, feels that a particular stock needs to be dropped or a particular stock needs to be added, and makes the changes in the model portfolio, the same changes gets communicated to the user. So I, as a user, will receive a notification that certain changes have been made in the model portfolio of the advisor to whom I have subscribed to. Then it is totally up to me in terms of whether I want to apply those changes or not. If I want to apply the changes, my portfolio will get synced to your portfolio. If I don't want to apply the changes, I can just skip and continue with whatever I am holding. So in terms of giving options and flexibility, there is utmost flexibility, whether you want to mirror the portfolios, whether you want to mirror partially, whether you want to completely run your own portfolios, and everything happens in a pretty transparent manner.
Interesting. You've actually answered what was going to be my next question, which was who can make these portfolios? And as I understand it, you've been adding partners that can make these portfolios for some time now, and you've amassed quite a large option base for people to choose from. The question I have, couple of questions on this one, is how do you determine who can give advice, who can be visible on your platform? And how the second question is, how do you help people choose which one to go for? And do you have a requirement for the people who are dispensing the advice to have skin in the game?
Sure. So let me answer one by one, right? The first is like who can create small cases which are shown on our platform, right? So we allow SEBI registered research analysts and investment advisors to create small cases which are then discoverable on our platform. So essentially, we don't control who can create or provide advice, right? Essentially, the regulator has set certain criteria in terms of be it net worth, be it in terms of passing certain examination to become eligible in order to provide research or advice, right? So we just follow those guidelines and we ensure that any partner who's coming and joining our platform is registered with SEBI in either of these capacities. We do our check in terms of ensuring that they are registered with the SEBI, their registration numbers and everything are properly documented. And once that is there, then essentially they can start creating small cases, right? So that's the answer to the first question, that people, like anyone who wants to create a small cases needs to have either a research analyst or an investment advisory license, right? Second, in terms of how do we help users pick small cases on our platform, right? So we are not a recommendatory or we are not a recommendatory platform. We never tell a user whether this particular portfolio is good for them or some other portfolio is good for them, right? For example, on our platform, you can even find two contradictory themes. One could be about taking exposure to exports, one could be about taking exposure to imports, right? It could be anything. But the way we help our users is that there are a lot of filters that you can provide. For example, if you want to identify themes which are, let's say, focusing primarily on digitization, or if you want to invest into strategies, let's say, which are built on quality or momentum, right? So we provide a lot of filters, a lot of different other type of social qualifiers through which users can pin down on what they are looking for. But what we don't do is we don't provide any recommendation in terms of which portfolio is good or bad. That is completely left to the users or their investment advisors. We just provide a wide collection of different investment ideas created by SEBI registered entities, which users can directly invest and track on our platform. But which one to pick is, at the end of the day, is the user's choice. Right? And I think that the last question that you had asked was whether we mandate for someone to have skin in the game, right? So Alex, there are pretty well-defined regulations today in terms of who can provide research, what are the ways in which research needs to be provided, or who can give an investment advice, whether it is required for the investment advisor to have skin in the game, right? So we just follow whatever are the regulations which are prescribed by the regulator. And that is what essentially our job as a platform is, to ensure that when a user is subscribing to a research analyst or investment advisor, we ensure that everything happens in as prescribed by the regulator, as well as any product which is available on our platform. We ensure that everything which is required from a regulatory point of view in terms of disclosures, in terms of reporting criteria, in terms of any other criteria we follow, right? But today it is just about providing advice, right? It's not, there's nothing automatically getting mirrored in anyone's portfolio. And whether to invest, whether to follow subsequent, let's say, recommendations is completely left to the users. And at the same time, SEBI also doesn't mandate it for either a research analyst or an investment advisor to have a skin in the game.
Right. Understood. I take your point. I'm trying to understand from the point of view of your business and from the point of view of these individuals, organizations, perhaps also that are dispensing this advice and creating small cases. What is the model for you? Where do you earn your money?
Sure. So let me take a step back. Okay. Like, for example, without a small case, how were these things working? Right. So let's say if there was no small case in the picture, and again, going to the same example where Alex is the investment advisor and I am a user who is trying to get the advice from you, I might have to go to your website, subscribe to your portfolio, then get your recommendations either in a PDF downloadable format or an Excel file, or you email it to me. However, you send certain recommendations to me. I do a bank transaction to you, right? That's the first leg, right? Then essentially, once this is done, I will have to go to my broker, then add each of those trades separately in my broker, and then get the contracts from my broker. And in order to give you, who is the investment advisor, details in the sense that what I have actually done, again, send this contract notes back to you so that you can again then fit it into the Excel sheet where you can track it. And then the whole loop again repeats, right? When the next time you provide an advice, right? So by us coming into the picture, the whole thing gets automated and streamlined, that the broker, which is the execution layer, the research provider, be it a research analyst or investment advisor from where the research originates, and the user, everyone comes on the same platform so that all the information transmission and exchange happen in a very smooth and streamlined manner. And that's essentially what we do. We are a technology platform, right? Now, in terms of how do we make money? So we are an ecosystem. Essentially, we don't charge our users. Brokers directly charge users for transactions, and investment advisors or research analysts who essentially create these portfolios again directly charge to the users whatever fee they decide to charge, and we just take a cut irrespective of what these entities are charging to the users from the broker as well as from the investment advisors, because we are giving them the technology platform in order for them to extend their services to their users.